What's up everyone, making this video to tell you guys about the easiest short opportunity over the next 4 months. Now this thing is pretty much guaranteed to drop 50% from the moment this video gets published. I kid you not, and I will show you proof right now. If you look at the white lines that I've drawn on the chart at the moment, the last time that happened was all the way back in February. And I remember this because I was shorting sand and I was telling everyone to short sand, but pretty much you have been on a downtrend ever since that white line. And for the last 4 months, you have dumped 64%. Now, again, here is another white line. You have, ever since the white line, you've just been on a downtrend. In this scenario, you dumped about 73% over the next 4 months. And then once again, over here, you have another white line where you just go into, I mean, you get the point by now, but about an 83% drop over the next 4 months. So this is something like a 4-month cycle for sand where, once the white line, by the way, the white line is going to happen tomorrow. As of the time that I'm recording this video, it's Sunday. It's going to happen on Monday, 14th of August. So definitely pay attention to this. Now, what exactly am I talking about when I say that this is a high probability short? What are these white lines? Well, let me show you. White lines are basically token unlocks for sand. Now, if you zoom it out all the way, all the white lines that I've drawn were actually token unlocks. And as you can see from this chart, this is a proper example of just horrible tokenomics. If you see a token that has tokenomics like this, stay away from it. You are fighting an uphill battle. The only reason why sand managed to go to where it went, right, basically like $8 and multiple tens of billions worth of market cap. The only reason it was able to do that is because it was still very early on in the vesting schedule. Notice how the first token unlock ever was in 2021, August 12th. That's this white line here. As you can see, it didn't really play a huge role in, tanking sand, just like how these other 3 white lines did. In fact, back then you could argue that we were in a completely different macroeconomic cycle where we were in a period of quantitative easing, and that's why sand was able to take off. And this is also one of the reasons why I do not believe, and I say this with utmost conviction, that sand will return anywhere close to the previous all-time high. If you're holding sand tokens, looking for it to go back to $5, $6, $7, let's just say you are fighting a very tough uphill battle. Just to put it into perspective, after this token unlock, which is about 15% of circulating supply, you have 3 more token unlocks with about half the magnitude of what you have happening tomorrow, but still, it is still about 10% of circulating supply. Now, in a bull market, this might not matter as much because there's just a lot of money, but when you're still in a bear market, and especially the fact that we're not going to be entering into a bull market until probably 8 months, 12 months later, just because of the Bitcoin halving cycle, then you are looking at a potential 1 to about 20% more of the circulating supply to get unlocked before the bull market even begins. I don't need to be the one to tell you, this is, it wouldn't be a surprise if it went all the way back to 10 cents. Let's just say that, right? These are all potential targets for sand to go back to. So if you're holding on to sand, you're still holding on to sand for some reason, and you didn't know about this information, then it's something you might want to consider. And here's the other messed up part. Sand has a history of doing very shady things. Now, what do I mean by that? I don't just say this lightly, but the last time this token unlock happened, I remember very clearly that me and my friend were watching it very closely, and we were wondering why sand was pumping a full week before, the token unlock. The token unlock was on Valentine's Day, February 14th. But as you can see, sand started pumping and dumping actually well over a week before that actually happened. Afterwards, we dug into the reason why, and we found out that almost 2 weeks prior to the token unlock, right? The token unlock is called an unlock for a reason. It means that the team and the investors and the advisors, they do not have access to those tokens until they are unlocked. But if you go through the Sand smart contract, you will actually see that the tokens were unlocked a full 10 to 14 days before the actual unlock date. And here's the messed up part. The reason why Sand actually pumped on 7th of February is because they announced some kind of partnership with FIFA or something. I don't really remember the news, but it was a piece of news designed to get Sand to pump so that the investors, the advisors, the team, they could unload their tokens to you at a high price. Basically, you become exit liquidity. As you FOMO into the news, you become exit liquidity and they get to sell at the highest possible price. I did mention this on my Twitter. I did make multiple posts about this, but it doesn't seem like a lot of people are aware of this. But now that you're watching this video, I hope now you understand that these crypto projects are not your friends. Like, it's every man out for themselves out here in the crypto world. And let's just say that, you know, once tomorrow comes around, it's going to be a pretty pivotal moment for Sand. Now, I will get into the exact entries that I'm looking at for Sand in just a little bit, but I do just want to touch on another thing, and that is why are token unlocks so significant. And I'll just touch briefly on how you can use token unlocks properly, because most of the people who start getting into coin token unlocks or whatever, they don't really know how it works, and most importantly, they don't really know how to use it best. So hopefully this will enlighten you just a little bit. Now, the reason why token unlocks matter so much is, firstly, you need to understand that most of the time when you get token unlocks, it is called a vesting schedule. Now, vesting schedules usually only apply to people that are super early investors. I'm talking like seed investors or just very early investors, or the team, right? Part of the reason why crypto projects are able to sustain such large teams, even though they are not particularly cash rich, is because they can give payment in the form of tokens. And usually these companies will give their employees tokens with an already set price. Now, most of the time, especially if you're an early employee or just someone who's a part of the core team, you're an advisor, investor, whatever, you'll be buying tokens within this price or even lower. That's right, lower. Now, over the years of being in crypto, I have made many connections that have thankfully allowed me the opportunity to invest into some of these projects at a very, very, very early stage. And I can tell you that when you're investing into these projects like early, you will be getting in prices at here or even slightly lower. That is the benefit that you have as an early investor. So let's assume that, you know, you're getting in at a somewhat, you know, reasonable price. Let's just put into perspective what profit you would be able to make. Like, I'm just taking the middle, right? Just the middle and drawing it here. Even if you were to sell your tokens right now, it would be worth 8 times what you were promised initially, right? You'd basically be making an 8x return selling it right now. And in the previous token unlock, you'd be making a return of about 20x, like so far and so forth, that's 30x. Meaning, whenever you get token unlocks, especially of this kind of magnitude, there is no reason for you as the person who's receiving the tokens to not sell your tokens. Because sure, you can wait like 3 to 5 years for Sand to, you know, potentially go a tiny bit higher, and maybe you can make a little bit more money. But again, it doesn't make sense. Capital tied up. These employees and investors and advisors know best how tokenomics work. They are not going to be holding on to the tokens with like another 2 more token unlocks coming. And this one, right? You have like a 20, 25, 30% circulating supply unlock. This is easily something that can dump a token like another 70 to 80% from current prices. So that's why token unlocks matter. And that's also why, like, one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make when it comes to token unlocks is paying attention to every single token unlock. For example, this is not going to matter, right? 0.7% of the circulating supply is, let's face it, it's not going to matter. That's why I say that opportunities like Sand do not come along very often. The last time this happened was about 6 months ago, and you would have to scroll pretty low just to find a token that would offer you a very significant opportunity. AXS is one of them with 11% token circulating supply, but that's about 70 days later. You also have another one, Yield Guild Guardian, I'm sorry, YGG. They have about a 7% token unlock. You know, again, not nowhere close to the significance as Sand, because Sand is pretty established in the NFT space. All the others are, you know, they're all right. Rule of thumb is anything less than like 5% circulating supply probably isn't going to matter. If you can find a coin that has like more than 10% circulating supply, absolutely amazing. Make sure you take the opportunity and short the hell out of it. Arbitrum would be interesting. I don't know if this is an accurate figure, because 87% token unlock is actually ridiculous. In fact, let me just look into it for a moment. Oh, that is actually ridiculous. Expect Arbitrum to pump heading like before March, like basically like March 16 of 2024. You're going to want to look for Arbitrum to go into a bullish market structure, and like look for Arbitrum to keep going up until this point. The reason, because people invested in Arbitrum are like market makers and smart money, big money, people who work behind the scenes. They have the ability to come up with news or whatever narratives to pump Arbitrum, because they know in about 7 months time, the tokenomics is just going to make Arbitrum go fight an uphill battle. And it's not something that many tokens are able to win. And even if they are able to win, like, come on, You want to be early. You don't want to be getting in, at the top as exit liquidity for the smart money. So this is just a little primer, I guess, on how to use token unlocks to your advantage and why this matters so much. So now that we have the fundamental side of things over with, let's get into the technical side of things and the entries that I'll be looking at. In fact, before I even talk about the entries, the 3 black lines here are the targets for Sand, in my opinion, during this downtrend. Now, this would be, roughly about a 50 to 70, maybe 80% is a bit much. I don't think it's going to come that low, but it's 50 to 60% easy, like zero difficulty. So first target would be right here at about 0.193, and the other one would be at about 0.15. Those would be the bearish targets for Sand, and of course, if it continues going lower, then this would be a pretty long-term target to look at. Now, as for the entries, what am I looking at in particular? Start off, I have marked out all of these 4 previous just swing highs, and the reason why I mark these out is because we know that Sand is about to enter a sell program. Basically, a sell program just means bearish market structure where you have lower lows and lower highs. Lows are constantly attacked, highs are protected. So now that we understand that Sand is about to go into a sell program, you need to understand this about buys and sell programs. In a buy program, sell side liquidity getting taken out creates enough fuel for the market makers to allow the markets to create new highs. Now, the opposite is true in sell programs, where buy side liquidity sweeps gives the market makers enough fuel to create new lows. For example, right here, let's use these candle body highs. Once you take out the buy side liquidity, guess what happens, right? Enough fuel to create new lows. You receive that once again over here, where once the buy side liquidity has been swept, you give the markets enough fuel to create new lows. So this is exactly the type of setup that I'm looking for, where buy side liquidity, which is existent on top of previous swing highs, once any of these levels are swept, which is right here at 0.415, 0.44, 0.456 and as well as 0.48. If any of these levels are swept, then that will provide the markets with enough fuel to drive the markets lower. Now, what if Sand goes even higher? Well, that will be looking at this fair value gap here. This is an imbalance in the markets. Imbalances tend to get filled, but in this case, I don't actually think it will, just because of the timing of it. The token unlock is happening in about 23 hours as of the time of this recording. You are not going to see Sand pump this much in a bear market in that quickly. Sand would basically have to form a candle pretty much like this over the next 2-3 days to make this even feasible, but you can keep it in mind. I would just prioritize these 4 levels over anything else. And what if you're watching this video late? Well, you don't have to worry. You already know the direction. You already know the target. All you have to do is momentum trade this thing all the way down there. The biggest mistake that I see beginners and intermediate traders, this is something that really holds people back, by the way, is the fact that they think that as long as something has already went down, they cannot short it. They think that because it's went down already, there might be a chance that it's going to reverse. That is rarely the case. In fact, if you speak to any investor or any trader who is managing tens of millions, hundreds of millions, billions of dollars, the best traders, the best minds in finance, they will all tell you that the way to make money in the market is not to try to catch reversals. That is not what you're trying to do. If you've ever heard the saying, the trend is your friend, this is exactly what they mean. Anything that is low can go lower, and anything that is high can go higher. So instead of looking to buy low, sell high, what you want to do is buy high and then sell even higher. And what you want to do is sell low and buy even lower. So that is a bit of wisdom that comes from the greatest minds in finance. The book that I would highly recommend for you guys if you want to listen to the wisdom of the greats is this book called Market Wizards. And a very good example would be just to look at Sand, right? If you were trying to buy the dip because you think, oh, Sand is in a good price, and well, let's just say that you will be royally screwed, because ever since about 1.5 years ago, Sand has just been on a complete and just straight downtrend. Just to put it into perspective, from the all-time high, Sand has lost probably about 96% of its valuation, and there is no saying that you cannot dump another 90% from current prices. It is absolutely likely, especially when the tokenomics are this crash. So hopefully you found value from this video. If you did, it would help me immensely if you could drop a like in return for the knowledge that you've acquired, and subscribe to the channel if you would like to see more. And lastly, I'd just like to let you guys know that I have released a free course recently that will help you become profitable in 30 days. It is no BS, no fluff. I understand that most free courses suck absolute horse crap, this is not going to be one of them. If you are interested to learn everything that I know, learn my exact strategy step by step, I want you to go ahead and sign up to the waitlist of the free group down below. And the reason why there is a waitlist is simply because we want to maintain quality, so we'll have to sacrifice quantity a little bit. We do intakes once every half a month to once every month based on demand, and currently demand is pretty high, so we will be doing another intake shortly. So make sure you sign up to the waitlist, and until then, I will see you guys in the next video. Cheers.